Hello and welcome to episode 51 of the Mouses Makes Knitting podcast. This episode is going to be very heavily knit along based. Why is it? I always start recording and then realise I'm dishevelled. Sorry, I just do my button up. Pretend you didn't see that. I'm neat now. Right, let me start first of all with the knit along that we are running. I am running Mouses Makes. If you saw last week, I announced it and it started on the 1st of May. It's a knit along essentially in support of Ukrainian designers. So all you have to do to enter is knit, crochet, cross stitch. Doesn't matter what craft, it's a make along really. I keep calling it knit along out of habit, but really it's a make along. Any craft you like from a Ukrainian designer, and in order to enter, all you need to do is share your progress photographs on Instagram using both the hashtag knitting with Ukraine and tagging the designer in your post. Now, particularly on Ravelry, some of the designers have a username that's different from their actual name. So for example, the designer I'm using, Natalie, Pellick, I'm probably getting her name wrong, I'm very sorry. Her username I think is Knit for Sweet. So when I put my post up, I said I'm doing the Sienna sweater by Natalie Pellick, I hope, and tagged Knit for Sweet. I hope that's clear, because I feel like I'm confusing myself as I'm saying it, let alone you lot listening to it. It's come up over the past week that a few people had some questions. First of all, it can be a free design. Oh, hello, Pops. Poppy heard us recording. She's had to join. She was under the chair. So you can enter a free design. You can enter a design that you already had. You don't have to rush out and purchase a new design. If you do, obviously that's a bonus for the person selling it. But the purpose of the make along is just to offer a bit of moral support and let these people see that we're thinking of them. So it can be free, can be something you already had. Whips are allowed. You do not have to finish it by the end of the make along, which is the 31st of August. Doesn't matter. Literally all you need to do to enter is share your progress with the hashtag and tag your designer. The other thing that's come up over the last week is that some people don't have Instagram. That's okay, you can still enter. If you email me the designer's name, a photograph of your progress, and I will then share that on Instagram with your permission. It doesn't have to have your name attached to it, so that you're then entered into the make along. I still haven't sorted out what prizes we're going to have, but there will be a couple of prizes. You can email me at mousesmakes@gmail.com. It will all be down below, so don't worry about finding a pencil to write it down. I hope that clears up any questions that have come up so far. As always, just comment below if there's anything else you need to know, and I'll try and sort it out for you. Right, I think that was all the questions that I had to answer. So I might as well start with this one as we're already talking about it. I've chosen the Sienna sweater by Natalie Pellick. It's a mohair sweater with some lace. I can't remember having knit with mohair since the early 80s. And I had forgotten Well, let me show you my progress so far. This is about 20 rows of it. This is a neckline in my size. This is the yoke. It's knit on toothpicks. It's like knitting on toothpicks with spider's web. I had forgotten it. I must have used thicker mohair perhaps. I don't remember. Certainly my eyesight was better back then. It's 2.75 needles, and at the moment, until I get more stitches, I'm actually managing to do it on a 16-inch needle. It's going to be a very light but warm sweater. The yarn I'm using again came out of my stash, so I'm really happy about that because, as you know, I am trying to stash bust. I got this on eBay on somebody's D-stash. It might have been last year or it might have been the year before. To be perfectly honest, 2020 and 2021 kind of merge into each other. And, oh, this is the stuff. It's coming out more yellowy pink than it is in real life. It's quite a nice blue pink, which is my favourite type of pink. It's Italian. It's Filati da Colizone. No idea what that means. I have a little Latin, but not very much Italian. It's an interesting construction. It is apparently, according to the label, 75% mohair, 5% wool, and 25% nylon. So I did some investigating, and it should actually be 20% nylon. So I don't know whether these were popped onto eBay because the label was incorrect. I would have thought that you would just print up more labels rather than lose out the cost of the yarn. Bearing in mind it's 80% wool and mohair. I think I paid about a £5 for 7 balls, 25 gram balls. So I suspect that was quite a saving. So yeah, that's the actual correct ingredients. That's not the right word, is it? Construction? Don't know. 75% mohair, 5% wool, 20% nylon. It's quite nice to knit with, but it does strain the old eye pies. That constitutes about 3 hours work, I think. Though to be honest, it's, you can see I've put in stitch markers for every single pattern repeat because I am not pulling this back. No way, Jose, am I pulling this back. A friend of mine had to pull back some mohair this week, and she put it in a plastic bag in the freezer first. So I have stored that. I'm sorry, Rocket is really distracting me because he's gone next door. I've stored that little tip away in case I have to pull it back, but I'm going to do my utmost not to allow that situation to arise. So it's got a lacy yoke. I don't know if you can see, probably not. It's quite fun to knit, to be perfectly honest. And I think even when I get past the lace yoke to the body has a lace panel down each side, so there'll still be some interest. So yeah, I'm actually quite enjoying it. I'd like to get it finished before the knit along ends, but if I don't, I don't. I have seen another pattern by a Ukrainian designer that I'd like to make, and I may do that as well rather than finish this and then move on to something else, because you know, it's not like I've got 20 projects already. There's quite a few. Well, the next cast on party I think is going to be the 25th of June, so I'm going to try really hard to get some of this stuff off the needles. I didn't do terribly well last time. I think I was left with a few things and I just added to them. At the moment I have my knitting rota, and I have 2 different things every day, plus a triangle on my triangulum and some sock knitting in the evening, because that's not real knitting, that's just something for my hands to do so I don't fall asleep while I'm watching the television. So there's a fair bit. 11 separate projects, plus the Scrappy Blankets and socks. So I think it rounds up to about 20 projects altogether. Honestly, I don't recognise myself. A year, certainly 2 years ago, the thought of having all these things, I mean, my craft room is full of project bags. I can't get to my sewing machine because they're like, there's a mountain of them. The thought of it would have made me not want to ever knit anything again. It would have been so overwhelming. But I think because I've built up to it slowly, and I have got my rota, and I am a creature of habit, and I like organisation, and I like things like lists and rotas, and I like to know where I am and what I'm doing, and I don't like surprises, and I don't like I'm not a spontaneous person. So I think that's how I'm handling it. I know some of my knitting friends are getting a little bit, oh, there's too much now. And I'm really surprised that I'm not, but I think it's because I have a very rigid structure for everything. So I said it was going to be pretty knit along heavy. The next knit along I'm going to talk about is being run by Alex from Mayani Corner, and I know a lot of you watch her anyway, and some of you may already be joining in. She is running an inspiration make along, so in order to enter that, you have to make something that you've been inspired by someone else's knitting, and then tag that person. So it doesn't have to be a podcaster, it could be, you know, your friend knitted some socks that you really loved and so you're knitting them now, or your favourite dyer brought out a yarn that you couldn't live without and it inspired you to make a particular thing with it. Whips are allowed as long as there's less than 50% finished. So I have entered, or I am entering, the Exordium Shawl by Rebecca Picoult. I did start this at the cast on party, and I showed it to you before, and I was just here where the little ducky is. It's being made with Ducky Darling's yarns, so it has to have my little ducky on it. That's the law. I'm using the creamy colour is Lamb Lotto by Ducky Darlings, and the darker, which sort of looks a bit tan, that's Brew, inspired by, I think, her son-in-law's cup of tea. They work together so beautifully. I love colours. You know I love colours, and I love combining colours and finding colours that contrast or complement each other, or even sometimes just clash horribly but then somehow work. But these, I'm just blown away by how beautifully they work together, and I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up because, as per usual, the light is rubbish. There's flecks or speckles in both yarns that kind of pick up the other yarn. So although one is a cream base and one is almost a tan, well, a tea coloured base, they've both got oranges and burgundies. The cream has got little flecks of yellowy sort of bright chartreusey, limey. Honestly, I could go on for hours about how much I love these two colours working together. And I feel like I'm some kind of Stephen West level colour genius that I've put them together. But I'd hoped they'd work well together. And they have kind of exceeded any plan that I might have had in that direction. They are just beautiful. In fact, I don't know, if I hold up this, you can see all the different colours that are in the cream, and most of those colours are also in the brew. Just beautiful. I do love Hayley's yarns. She is one of the dyers that, well, if I ever win the lottery, which is highly unlikely because I never buy a ticket, but if I were to win the lottery, I think I would just, I don't know, I would just set up a direct debit for like £1,000 a month and just say, send me pretty things. If I ever win the lottery, this is my promise to you, Hayley, Ducky Darlings, Alex and Danny at Mayani Corner, Amanda at Little Lycac, and I think the lady's name is Isabel or Isabella at Little Mouse House. You're in the money too. If I win that lottery, most of it's going to you. Never mind the big house and the flash cars and the speedboats and the motorbikes and the cosmetic surgery. It's all going on yarn. I'm going to stop being silly now. But I just, you know, do you ever, when you're knitting something, just keep stopping and admiring it? Because not only do I love the yarns and the way they're working together, but this stitch, I don't know how well it's coming out. This stitch is just gorgeous. I love that stitch. So simple to do, but with the two colours, just so effective. So, this is what I can't even remember if I told you some of this. This is what I'm entering into Alex's inspiration make-along. And my inspiration was Ruth at Ruth Loves to Knit, who showed this on her podcast. I'm going to say episode 27. And Rocket just got chased out of next door's garden by a dog 1,000 times his size. He's a good dog. He just sort of like shushed him out. He didn't, there was no aggression in it. You know, it was just a case of, what are you doing in my garden? He's a good boy. The dog, not Rocket. Rocket is not a good boy. Brain completely stolen by animals yet again. Ruth Loves to Knit, I think episode 27, she made a beautiful version in yellow and blue in Sport of Ukraine. And I actually paused during watching her video to run off to Ravelry and put the pattern in my queue, and then Dave bought it for me at Easter instead of an Easter egg. So, Exordium Shawl by Rebecca Picot. Really highly recommend it. You need 2 contrasting colours, and good luck choosing better ones than I have. I'm not being big-headed. I'm just really pleased. Okay. The third knit-along, make-along, I think it's a make-along really, that I'm taking part in is being run by Kathy at Whatnot and her daughter Mandy of Art by Mandy Meow. I actually managed to get it out in one go this week. It's a cardical. They're in Australia, and obviously Australia is going into their colder weather, whereas we are supposedly coming into our warmer. And you may remember I started a crocheted cardigan and had to give up on the crocheted cardigan because apparently I can't crochet anymore without it setting off my Bear with me, the word will come back. Tendinitis. I don't know why, but my brain was running through all sorts of words that began with I, and I didn't want an I word, I wanted a T word. I was doing so well before those wretched animals derailed me. Anyway, I had to stop crocheting the cardigan, and so I'm using the yarn to make a cardigan. No, I'm using the yarn to make a sweater instead that I'm designing myself. And here it is. And you can see where you saw it last time, there's a little pussycat stitch marker. And I've now got all the colours in, and then I've started on the next repeat of the colours with the khaki again at the bottom. So, working from the top down, they are Stylecraft Special DK, khaki, mustard, gold, gingerbread, copper, burgundy, and then khaki again. And for the moss stitch border, I'm using a yarn that I think might be, and everybody is commenting and saying they agree, so I'm going to say I know, that is Sirdar Jewel Spun, and I can't remember the name. Somebody suggested it was Sunset something. But anyway, it's got all of these colours in it and some others as well. So I'm hoping I'm going to have enough yarn. I've got 600 grams. I'm going to have to pull the cardigan down to recycle the yarn. But I've got 600 grams of the Stylecraft, and then I started off with 100 grams of the Sirdar Jewel Spun. So there should be plenty, because a sweater for me normally takes about 500 grams all in. So I should be okay. Yeah, so that one I'm entering into the cardigan. Again, I don't think you have to finish, which is just as well, because it finishes on the 15th of June and I've wasted a fair amount of time on the cardigan, which is sad, but it doesn't really matter. It's the colours I wanted more than the item, so it'll be fine. And I could actually, rather than make a sweater, I could make a cardigan out of this. I'll see how I feel. I'm working on the back at the moment. I may even do the back and the sleeves before I decide whether I'm doing a cardigan or a sweater. So that is, I think, all my make-along stuff. And as it is the first, sorry, I'm trying to disentangle this stitch marker. As it is the first episode in May, first episode of the month, it's Triangulum Update Day. So if you prefer not to see the Triangulum, close your eyes now and I'll tell you when it's safe to open them again. Right, it now has 124 triangles on it. I nearly said squares again. Good grief. So, hoping your eyes are closed if you don't want to see, here it is. Whoop. It's getting quite big. I measured it and it's around 3 feet in diameter now. Trying to remember where I was when I saw you last. I know you haven't seen this one, this hexagon, because that's the one I'm currently working on. This green I'm sure is from Ducky Darlings in a mini set I got. I think it's a Flower Power mini set or something. This one either came in a yarn swap or was given to me. Same with this one, and I've started working on its opposite hexagon. I've got half of the opposite hexagon done. I think I was working on this colourway when I saw you last, and in between times I've done 2 of these hexagons. These were my mini egg inspired hexagons to take me over Easter. This one I think was Ducky Darlings. Possibly this one as well. This one I think came with my birthday box, and I'm trying desperately to think who I got it from. Can't remember. That one I think might also be Ducky Darlings. And the yellow, don't know. Well, that's really bugging me now. It was someone I hadn't bought from before. I'm trying to visualise the logo, but it's kind of a generic logo, you know, it's like the laurel wreaths. I cannot think who it was from. How annoying. Not that it matters really. Yeah, so I'm now on to the next round, level, whatever you want to call it. Finished the one I was working on before, so I'm now on to the next one. And each round I go out from the centre, it doubles the number of hexagons I need. So this one is going to take a while. I think I worked out there were 6, then 12, so there should, I think, be 24 in this next one. And then in the following one there'll be 48. There can't possibly be 96 in the one after that, surely. There's not enough yarn in the world. I may have bitten off more than I can chew. Because if you haven't seen this before, my plan is to do a triangle a day, every day, all year. And on that note, I have a confession to make. This time last week, I was 2 weeks behind with it because I'd got bored with knitting it. And so Thursday, Friday and Saturday, I made myself catch up. And I'm trying very hard now not to let that happen again, because I did not enjoy catching up. I think I'm over the hump of being bored with it now. It tends to get that way when I'm working on the second hexagon of the set, because of course you're using the same colours again. But yeah, I'm going to be really strict with myself and make myself do at least one triangle every day, because I really don't want to have to catch up again. Anyway, I'm going to put it away now. It is on my Ravelry page and on Instagram, and the details of how to find me in either place are always below in the description box. So on Ravelry I am Mousewitch, and on Instagram I'm amandajane.davies.58. But that's all, that will all be down below. You don't have to try and remember it. Speaking of scrap blankets, as I mentioned before, I am having to give up on the crochet, which is annoying because I have, or had, 3 oh, it's taken me a long time to get the croak today. 3 crocheted scrap blankets, 1 Tunisian crocheted scrap blanket. I did have on the go. I'm keeping the Aran corner to corner crochet, and I'm in two minds whether I'm keeping the Tunisian. I've put a lot of work into it and I've done it twice. What I've got at the moment, I've most of it done twice because I wasn't happy with it, and so I pulled it down and I had another go. Sorry, I'm distracted because someone's trying to ring me. Let me just... Dave's trying to ring me. I forgot to message him to tell him I was recording. So I'm going to have to hurry up and wrap this up so I can ring him back. Yeah, so the DK scrap blanket, I may keep the corner to corner because I think I'm nearly finished with that. But the one that was a corner to corner in little squares, I'm only just started, so I'm stopping doing that one. So instead, I've cast on a knitted blanket. And what I'm doing, there's no pattern or anything. Now he's trying to ring Ewan. Oh dear, I'm going to be in trouble. Ewan's in the shower, he's been for a run. I cast on, I think it was nearly 300 stitches. And using DK doubled, I'm knitting a stitch, slipping a stitch with the yarn in front, which is kind of a double knitting technique, but when I go back on the other side, I'm using exactly the same yarn. So I haven't got two different sides, different coloured sides as you would have if you were double knitting. But what I'm getting is a really soft, squishy, I don't know if it'll come out, how thick the fabric is. It is really, it's got to be at least a centimetre thick. And it's soft and it's squashy and it's going to be super warm because it's almost like layered inside. And I'm really enjoying knitting on that. I got it on a 6.5mm needle. I could probably have gone up a bit larger, to be honest, but I'm quite liking the fabric I'm getting. So this is going to be another long-term project. I've got so far this bag of DK scraps, so that's going to keep me busy for a while. Sorry, I just thought I might as well show you the other one while I'm at it. This is the crocheted scrappy blanket I'm making, and I've been using the variegated or stripy for this one. This in the middle here, this is linen drape, so that's why it's a solid colour, but it's in this blanket because it's a different fabric. So I think I can probably, I mean, that'll make a reasonable lap blanket size. I think I can probably start decreasing with this one now. So I'll keep that one going. And the Aran weight one, which is quite big. It would be a shame to pull it down. But I'm undecided about the Tunisian, which is in fingering weight, because I'd like to do a similar thing to this with the fingering. So I don't know. I'm not rushing to decide. It's not like I haven't got anything else to knit on, is it? So I'm going to see. Oh look, I didn't realise it did that, look. I hadn't had enough fabric to notice that before, but I suppose because I'm not doing a proper double knitting technique, it will, it's not, what's the word I'm looking, it's like a pillowcase. Oh, now there's an idea. No. Sorry, my brain went off then and thought you could fill it with wadding and make it like a duvet, but then it would be really hot. We don't need to do that. So that's where we are at the moment. If I'm going red now, I'm having a hot flush. I do apologise. Right. I think that was everything that I wanted to talk to you about today, and some things that you didn't need to know. And I'd better go and ring Dave, because he'll be worrying. The reason he's probably ringing me is that I had to ring him this morning and tell him, oh my God, if you've been here a while, you may remember that last year we had a spate of things leaking. Radiators, pipes, stuff just kept springing leaks all over the house. Well, it's continued into this year, and now it's the turn of my bedroom radiator. And I thought I heard a drip. I was sat up there and I thought that sounded like a drip. But you don't really take much notice, do you? Because my bedroom's in the loft. It has been raining on and off. And it could just have been a guttering, dripping or whatever. And I don't know what made me look, but I went and looked under the radiator, and one of my slippers has, luckily, absorbed all the drips. So I have one ruined, completely sodden slipper, but it has saved the carpet and everything else. So I'm prepared to sacrifice the slipper. But I rang Dave and I was like, oh, you're not going to believe this. And he said, turn it off. And I wasn't strong enough because of the tendinitis. Ewan had gone out for a run, but Ewan has come back from his run and he has turned it off. So that's probably why he's ringing me. And I forgot to tell him before I started recording that I was about to record, which I normally do. So I better go and ring him. So, thank you for your time. Sorry about the waffling. Thank you those of you that have already joined in with the make along. I'm enjoying looking at what you're making, and I will see you next week. And until then, happy knitting. Bye.